Hey there, Michelle. How's it going today?
Good, Lindsay. Lindsay, have you ever had jury duty?
I actually have recently, Michelle. I was called in, and you go through stages. You get
Yeah.
a mailing, and then you have to call the night before and find out if your number was called. My number was called, so that means you go in that day, and then you watch the videos, and then if your number gets called again, you're actually on the selection process. So it's like
Hmm.
3 rounds that you have to be lucky or unlucky, depending on how you think of it.
Yeah.
My number did not get called that time.
Okay.
What about you,
Okay.
Michelle?
Yes, I have had it. I've had it in New York, and I remember I actually made it to the voir dire.
You the
You
voir
know
dire, that's
that.
what it is, voir dire. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
and they
you
give you a
did.
microphone, and I did, and they asked me questions, and I remember I was really nervous because it was right before kind of a break in my schedule, or I'd planned to go
Oh,
home.
yeah.
And I
Yeah.
was just hoping I think I said something to the judge and they were like, "Sorry,"
Yeah.
and but then luckily I didn't get chosen after the voir
They
dire.
didn't like you as a jury then,
They
as a
didn't
as a
like me.
juror, I
Yeah.
guess is the word.
Well, yeah.
Interesting,
What
interesting. Well,
about
yeah.
what
Mhm.
about courtroom dramas? Do you watch anything like Law& and
Of
Order or
course, of
Oh,
course.
do you?
And there was a great movie called Jury Duty, actually.
And
I
a
hi
TV show.
Yeah, I highly recommend the movie. I remember thinking it was really funny or really good or something. Yeah, I've seen the courtroom dramas, the crime shows, the true crime series. They're everywhere. I think most of what we learn about juries and trials is actually on TV.
Yes, or
Realistically,
movies, like, I was
yes.
thinking you and I have talked many times about My Cousin Vinny.
Well, Michelle, I have an update there. I actually watched that over the weekend.
Oh, did you?
Yes, I watched it over the weekend. Yeah.
Amazing still,
It's
right?
such a good movie, but you know what? The second time or the third time, whatever time it was, I remember it being funnier the first time I watched it. This time I didn't I it was funny, but it wasn't like Stitches funny. I've
Yeah.
got stitches in my belly funny.
Yeah, yeah,
But it
yeah.
was good. Like, it was a clever movie. Also, it's just fun because it's from the '80s, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, I love that movie. Yeah. Oh, that's so funny that we're talking about this then. So
I
perfect.
know.
Guys, before we get into it, we want to let you know that we are going to have a poll on Spotify that we announce at the end of the episode, towards the end. And yeah, we have a lot of fun with these because we ask you guys a question, and if you're listening on Spotify, you can put your answer in, and some of them, like this one, we will read on a future show. So we will read actually what the results were. So it's a really
Mhm.
fun way to interact with us.
Exactly. And we'll get to that at the end of the episode. So stick with us here. But today we're going to have this fun episode about idioms that come from the courtroom. And I think it probably is the fact that courts and trials and juries are so embedded in our psyche due to the media. We
Yeah.
actually use a lot of
Yes.
idioms, a lot of law idioms in everyday life, Michelle. What do you think?
Yeah.
Why? Why do you think we use them?
Yeah, I agree. I would say that it's on TV. I mean, there are always what is it? There's 100 different Law and Orders, and
Yeah,
the people seem to just gravitate towards courtroom stuff.
they do. Yes.
And so yeah, I think it's just seeped its way into our natural vocabulary.
Yes, people love maybe they like justice, they like the truth. It seems dramatic and exciting, these jury trials, right? Trial lawyers have to really think on their feet and be
Mhm.
creative and also very
Mhm.
smart. So it's kind of inspiring in a sense watching
True.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So again, these expressions that we're going to teach, they're not they use courtroom kind of lingo, but they're
Mhm.
not used. You don't have
Right.
to be talking about the court, right?
Yes, we don't have to be in a jury trial. Hopefully you're not, right? To use these expressions, right? We don't want to be in courtrooms.
Yeah,
No.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, Lindsay, we did want to announce our Android app reviewers, right?
Yeah, I just want to say a special shout out to one recent reviewer. Special thank you to Kazra, who reviewed us on February 27th, 2025, with a 5-star review.
Ooh,
We love seeing these reviews, guys. They are huge for us because we do this podcast for you. So, huge thank you to Kazra. And Michelle,
thank
what can
you.
our listeners do if they want to hear their name on the show?
Definitely go wherever you're listening to us and leave us a review because we do read them.
We do.
Lindsay sends them around and I always
Yeah.
read them and they make
Mhm.
us smile. And you can even ask a question in your review. So something to think about.
Yes. Just to know that we'll directly be reading that review. So go ahead and leave it, guys. We'll try to announce your name on the show. All right, Michelle, let's get into it. So, where does jury and courtroom language show up in everyday English
All
outside
right,
of
let's do
court?
some.
Yeah.
Yes. So one thing sometimes people say is, "What's the verdict?" Right?
Mhm.
Do you ever hear
Mhm.
people say
Oh
that or you
yeah.
say that? Yep.
Oh yeah, for sure. So what is the I mean, I'm not asking you what's the verdict, but
Right.
what is a verdict, Michelle?
A verdict, it's kind of this is the decision that the jury comes
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
So the verdict, guilty, not guilty, right?
Yeah, exactly. What's the decision? So someone has been thinking about something in everyday
Uh,
language. Someone's been considering
right.
something. Maybe they're thinking of taking a new job, for example, right? Or it's something lighter, like where do you want to go for lunch? I gave you
Right.
some time to think about it. And Michelle,
Right.
what's a sample sentence then?
Yeah. So yeah, what's the verdict on lunch? Are we getting tie? Right. So
Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
like, what was the outcome of the decision? What did you decide?
Exactly. So, and the key thing to know here, this is a real nuance, Michelle, but I feel like there needs to be a gap of time in which someone has been thinking about it, right? Let's say I
Right.
called you in the morning and we're both at work. I say, "Hey, Michelle, you want to get lunch today?" Sure. And you say, "Sure." And then I say, "Can you think of where you want to go? And when we meet up, we can decide." So I
Mhm.
gave you the choice, and I know that you're thinking about it. And then when we come back together, I'm going to say to you, "So, Michelle, what's the verdict on lunch? Verdict on lunch?
Right,
Don't you think
right.
there needs
Yeah,
to
well,
be?"
there
Yeah.
needs to be that time, and I guess that comes if you think about it, makes sense with the courtroom, right? The verdict
Yes.
is after some deliberation amongst the
Yes.
jury, so it's not I wouldn't say to you, "Lindsay, what do you wanna do for lunch?" And then
What's
you
the
say, "I
verdict?
don't know," and they say, "What's the verdict?" Like,
That
you
makes no
can't.
sense. And actually, that's fun because that leads directly into our next one. The jury's still
Yeah,
out. So the jury's out, right? Deciding where you want to go for lunch. We're just doing these
yeah,
fun little analogies here.
right.
So with the verdict piece, someone needs to have been thinking about something. Okay.
Yes.
So I wouldn't just
Yes.
say, "Hey, what do you want to do tonight? What's the verdict?" No, that doesn't really
Right.
work,
No,
right?
no, no, no. There needs to be time. So with the jury still being out, the jury hasn't decided yet. There's
Right.
no decision yet. So you could say you could say the jury's out or you could even say the jury's still out.
Yeah.
Either one. But what's an
Yeah.
example with that?
Okay, you can say the jury's still out as to whether or not school will be closed for snow tomorrow. And I don't know what your thoughts are on kind of belaboring an analogy but I probably wouldn't continue with that same line. Like if I asked you, "What's the verdict on lunch?" and you probably wouldn't say, "Oh, I don't know, the jury's still out." You probably wouldn't say that, right,
No.
Michelle? That's too much,
I
right?
mean, unless I was trying to be super, oh, I don't know, humorous or whatever. But no, I wouldn't. No.
No, it doesn't mean we have to continue with these same, I guess it's kind of analogies in a sense. Not, what's the word I'm looking for? Metaphors, or I'm not
Right.
sure, but it's too much. It just gets a little overwhelming. So this
Yeah.
is, yeah, yeah.
Snow days, Lindsay. Do you remember being a kid and just like looking at the bottom of the TV to see if your school was closed
Oh
or if the
my
jury was still
gosh.
out? Yeah.
Oh, and I remember there was a number we could call, either TV downstairs or a number, and I had memorized, your school administrative unit district, right? And then you're waiting for that SAU 29. Come on, say it,
Yep.
right?
Yep. 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 Exactly. So,
Yeah.
a lot of jury was still out. Anyway.
Yeah, so funny. All right. Okay, so now, Michelle, we have another great one, super relevant in everyday life and culture.
hmm
What is it?
This is to plead the fifth.
Yes.
Now, yeah, let's get into the amendments a little bit. Lindsay, what is this about?
Okay, this is talking about the Fifth Amendment in the Constitution, the amendment of not having to self-incriminate. So
Yep.
you don't have to say anything.
Yep.
If lawyers ask you questions, or the DA, the district attorney, is asking you questions, you can plead the Fifth, and we see this a lot on crime shows, and also when people first get arrested, they're read their what do they call them? The Miranda rights, and I
Miranda
think
rights.
the
Yeah.
Fifth Amendment is probably one of them. I'm guessing.
I'm
Probably.
guessing.
I
I'm
don't
not
know.
sure. But yeah, and whenever somebody says plead the fifth, you get this feeling of it's guilty. You know what I mean?
Right.
Maybe it's not true, but I at least in fun language, that's how it's used.
Right, right.
If you're kind of guilty of
Yes.
something, so let's do this little role
Yeah,
play.
let's take this back to a normal situation at
Yeah.
home, right? "Hey, did you eat the last cookie?"
I plead the fifth.
Yeah, so,
It's like
we're
I
not
don't
in a
want to
courtroom
admit it.
here, right? We're not being arrested. It's more like, "Oh, yeah, I probably did, but I'm just being playful, and I'm not gonna admit that I did."
Right, right. I'm saying I did.
Yeah.
Like it's the same. Yeah,
Essentially, yeah, you're saying you
essentially.
did. Okay, that's an important piece. Case closed, Michelle. Case
Case
closed.
closed. Yeah, this means the case has ended. The judge is moving on to the next one,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, this is fun. This episode is fun.
Yeah.
So essentially, outside of the courtroom, which is where we all exist, is it means this is over or this has been resolved. We're no longer talking about this thing, right? Maybe you've been
Yeah.
debating this for a while, and this could be used in more serious like arguments between spouses, maybe.
Right, right.
Right? Like you want
True.
to live in the city and maybe he wants to live in the countryside and you've been debating for years and then finally you decide, okay, case closed. We've decided this, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
Exactly. Or it could be used in a much lighter way, like, "This is the best ice cream ever. Case closed."
Nice, I like that. So you can see the range for that one is pretty wide in terms of scenarios.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
Lindsay, which of these do you like the most?
Oh my gosh, I like the jury's still out. I think that's kind of fun. The jury's still
Yeah.
out because it means a decision is still being made about something.
Yeah, yeah.
And often that's the place we live, where we hang out in the world is we're ruminating over something or we're thinking about something, and
Mhm.
taking our time. So the jury's still out.
Mhm, mhm, exactly. So, let's get into our poll for today, guys. Again, you're gonna see this on Spotify. So the question is, do you like to watch courtroom shows? Yes or no? So we want to know who's into those kinds of shows.
Yes, and if you're listening in YouTube, Michelle, let's throw this out there. If you are watching today in YouTube, you can answer this too. Answer the poll in the comments, but tell us what is your favorite. So answer yes or no,
Ooh.
but then if it's yes, you have a place to make a comment. So tell us what is your favorite courtroom drama. We're looking for
Let us
recommendations. Right,
know.
Michelle?
All right, perfect. All right, let's do a role play, Lindsay.
All right. So here we are friends and we're trying to figure out who forgot to pay their dinner bill on Venmo after a group dinner. Ooh, not
Uh-oh.
good.
So again, we're gonna use these expressions, but as Lindsay mentioned earlier, you probably wouldn't use them all like this.
Yes, yeah, you wouldn't belabor that too much, right? You wouldn't it just gets a little tacky if you
Yeah, it's a little
Yeah,
much.
unless
Okay,
you're having fun, I don't know. Okay.
here we go. All right, so okay. Okay, so you paid?
Yeah. Okay, so the jury's still out as to who didn't Venmo you yet.
Yeah, I have to look through. Who ordered the giant cake?
Ooh, I plead the 5th, but I paid for it.
Okay, good. And what's the verdict on the restaurant for next week?
Undecided.
Just because I hope whoever it is pays me back by then. Oh, wait, I just got an alert. Jared just paid. All good now.
Oh, good. Case closed. Nice.
Okay.
We're gonna investigate Jared if he doesn't pay.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So here we have a bunch of idioms, fun idioms. And first you said who so you paid. Clearly you're looking to figure out who needs to pay. And
Mhm.
then I said, okay, so the jury's still out as to who didn't Venmo yet. Right.
Right. So we don't know who it was, right?
And just to pay attention to the grammar here, the jury's still out as
As
to
to.
something,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I want our
Yep.
listeners to pay attention to that. We need the grammar to make this work, right? The
Right.
jury is still out as to something. All
And
right.
again, this is a little bit different because it's not like, oh, the decision being made, right? The jury being
Mhm.
out. But it's still, I think it's just used also in terms of something
Figuring
is still a
something out.
mystery. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
figuring something out. Yeah.
Yeah. You're figuring something out. There's a mystery. You've got to do some research, maybe. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Then what? Hmm.
I said, "Who ordered the giant cake?"
And it was me, and I'm admitting it here, right? As we said,
Uh-huh.
ooh, I plead the 5th, but I paid for it. And it's funny
Yeah.
because by saying I plead the fifth, you're saying I ordered
I
the
did
cake.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because I didn't
Mhm.
even ask you specifically, but you just
Yeah. Yeah. That's so
yeah.
funny. Okay.
And I said, and what's the verdict on the restaurant for next week? So
Mhm.
sounds like we do kind of maybe a weekly dinner, or we
Fun.
just know that, yeah, and we're deciding. So I'm saying, what's the decision?
Okay, excellent. What's the verdict? Good. And then we went down to the bottom and you said, "Oh, Jared just paid. All good now." And then I say, "Oh, good. Case closed." Yes. So that
Right.
just means we figured it out. We're moving on. That
Mystery
issue
solved. Yep.
is all set. Yeah,
Yeah.
good. Fun
Exactly.
episode today, Michelle, because
Uh,
especially because these actually, we're not just making this up here, guys. Like these we genuinely do use these
yeah.
expressions in everyday life, okay?
Yeah, that's where I got the idea, because I said I said one of these in real life. So, and then I was like, "Oh."
I love
So
it.
they're fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, check out episode 2382, Drive Safe or Drive Safely, when to use flat adverbs in English.
Interesting.
Uh,
Love it. And what's our takeaway? Where should we leave our listeners? Where should yeah.
These are just fun. They're
Yeah.
used, as you can see, they're very versatile because they can be used in more serious situations or more lighthearted, humorous situations, like "Where's the ice cream? Oh, I plead the fifth."
Yes.
So just listen for these. Don't use them all at once.
Mhm. Mhm.
Give them a try, and yeah, let us know how it goes. You will definitely hear these around.
Excellent. And guys, don't forget to leave us a review wherever you listen, whether
Yes.
it's Spotify or Apple Podcasts or YouTube. You could write a comment or in the app. All right. Good stuff. Okay, Michelle. Well, we'll see you very soon back on the show.
All right. Bye, Lindsay.
Bye.